welcome to NDTV Profit. You're watching a special edition with RC Bhargava, Chairman at Maruti Suzuki, on their plans with regards to where expansion goes, capex goes, and the MOU they've reached with the state of Gujarat as well for construction of a new automobile production plant as well as extension of lines is concerned. Let's head across to Mr. Bhargava to understand more. Mr. Bhargava, a very good morning and welcome to the show.
Thank you, and good morning to you too.
Always a pleasure to speak to you. Mr. Bhargava, firstly, two things we are talking about over here. The new greenfield plant, which is the MOU with Gujarat for construction of the new automobile plant. And we are looking at a new production line as well, which is the fourth line. If you could help us understand more details of what are the plans with this going ahead.
Well, as far as the existing site of Suzuki Gujarat is concerned, which, as you know, Maruti has now recently bought from Suzuki, but it's still a Maruti subsidiary. We had 3 production lines there for 750,000 units. It's now been found that we can put in a 4th line at that site. And that 4th line is specially designed to manufacture electric vehicles. So the site will now have a capacity of 1 million cars a year, of which at this stage, one of the lines is dedicated to electric vehicle production. As you know, we have another plan of increasing our total capacity to 4 million cars by 2030-31. And we were looking for a site for the second plant of 1 million a year capacity. What we have signed with Gujarat is an MOU, which expressly states that Gujarat is the preferred state chosen by us, and that the plant will be set up there subject to availability of appropriate land. And we hope that this will be done in the next couple of months or so, and that we will get the production started there by 28.
Right. So my next question that comes to you is, plans absolutely firm with regards to the 4th line. With regards to the new greenfield plant, yes, you're looking at land availability, and that should be cleared in the next couple of months as well. So now we're talking about Manesar, Gurugram, Kharkhoda as well. What does this take the annual capacity for Maruti at, say, at the end of this decade then, if everything falls in place?
We will have 2 million in Gujarat, 2 million in Haryana, consisting of 1 million in Kharkhoda, and about 900,000 in Manesar. And the balance, the Gurgaon will be continuing with a lesser production than what we have now. How much it will be will depend on market conditions.
Right. So, Mr. Bhargava, overall, now from this portfolio, one line absolutely dedicated to electric vehicles. What percentage of the total total number of cars that Maruti will produce will be from the EV side?
The present estimate is that by 2030-31, something between 15 and 20% of our total production will become EVs, which of course can't be done with one line. And therefore, once this line is fully utilized, we will have to convert more of the existing lines to EVs. But actual how much will be produced will naturally depend on how the demand for electric vehicles progresses and what the customers decide they want in terms of vehicles with different technologies.
Right. So, Mr. Bhargava, it takes me to my next question. Yes, it's absolutely right that we have to wait and understand the demand specifically from a domestic market perspective. But when you talk about the electric vehicle saga, the global market is absolutely ripe. Does this actually open up opportunities for Maruti? Because we've always taken Maruti predominantly from a domestic market perspective. Exports is a huge market to tap the moment you look at EVs.
You are absolutely correct. In fact, when we start EV production by the end of this year, the first lot of cars which will be produced will actually, electric cars which will be produced, will actually be exported. And of the first model which we are introducing, in 25, 26, the production will reach something close to 90,000 cars, and about half of these will be exported. Our target for export itself, as I think we have indicated earlier, by 2030, 31, is between 750 to 800,000 cars, of which a certain percentage, I can't say exactly how much it will be electric cars.
So if you have to look at the number of models as well, currently, if I'm not mistaken, 17 to 18 models is where Maruti is sitting on in
Correct.
terms of plans, right?
Yeah.
With all
That's
of
right.
this expansion, how many models will you take it to, number one? And out of those, how many will be electric vehicles?
Our estimate is that the total number of models will reach about 28, of which 6 will become electric cars, pure electric cars.
Okay, and the first EV is out by the end of FY24, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Now, like the way Maruti has been a champion in terms of small cars, right, with the revolution that you bought with the Maruti 800, do you think it's going to be the mass market segment in the EV space where Maruti will be able to then bring that revolution and we will see a deja vu?
We have to wait and see, but my personal estimate is that the EV penetration first will be much easier at the upper end of the market. Suitable cars for the smaller segment or the beginning segment of the auto purchasers, as well as the customer psychology of the small car buyer is such that getting a large penetration of EVs into that segment is going to be a longer period of time requirement and a harder job to do. A lot of these car buyers at the bottom end may actually prefer to use cars based on biofuels. And we are very serious about developing biofuels as an alternative to EVs as the years go by.
Okay, this gets me to an interesting point over here. That means the strategy for Maruti is going to be that in the ICE segment, try and concentrate with the mass market. And if you talk about the electric vehicle, premiumization is going to be the key. Is that the correct understanding?
That's at the bottom end of the market. We will want to do this largely with biofuels. If biofuel development takes place fast enough. At the upper end, it'll certainly be EVs and hybrids. In the middle segment, I think it'll be a mixture of both EVs as well as other technologies like biofuels and hybrids. So it's, India is not a uniform market. It's a very stratified market, starting from people who can barely afford a car to people who can buy the most luxurious of cars. So you have to cater your production and your technologies to the needs of these different segments of the market.
Right. And with regards to the revival of the small car segment in the ICE segment as well, you've time and again in the recent past maintained that there is a downturn in terms of sales of small affordable cars.
Yeah.
And for the industry to grow and sustain a revival in this segment is absolutely key. How are you looking at that happening? Because, what's happening over here is the disposable income in the hands of the consumer is increasing, and that is one of the reasons that probably people are not entering the small car segment. Are you optimistic of that revival?
I'm very, because, the income is increasing, but remember the fall in the requirement of small cars as well as scooters in the country happened when the cost of these vehicles went up very sharply following the transition to BS6 and the new emission standards. And it was not because suddenly people at the bottom end, the lower middle class, suddenly became so rich that they moved to bigger cars. If that was so, car growth would have been much faster, not at barely 3%, 4% over this last 4 or 5 years. And I'm believing, and our studies are showing that this is happening, that at the bottom end of the car market, what used to be the car market, which has become a scooter market, gradually the surplus income with people is increasing. And when this reaches the level of which used to exist in relation to car prices 4 years ago, people will start coming back to the small cars. The person who used to buy a small car today has not become rich enough to buy a 10 lakh car.
I agree with you on that front, but with the safety norms with Bharat NCAP as well, competition has moved on and they've said, yes, 6 airbags is what we will comply with. That does make the small car market absolutely expensive then. It's not affordable to maintain that same price strategy, the same price band. What is Maruti doing on that front then?
So that is why I'm saying it will become a higher priced car, which it has already become. But to buy that higher priced car, the disposable income of the buyer has to increase from what it is today. And we have been studying how this surplus is growing and what it relates to the increased price of the car. And our present estimate is that by 2026, we should see more people coming back into the small car market.
When you spoke about the small car segment as well, another thing that comes to everyone's mind from a rural market perspective is you have rural and Maruti, which absolutely go hand in hand from a leadership perspective. With the small car market going down, what is the trend you're picking up in the rural market? Is it that they're moving to, again, a little higher range in terms of models? Or is it that the consumption pattern is slightly muted in rural India right now?
So the rural market is continuing to grow. A small part of the rural market is for the larger, more, let's say, luxurious cars. But compared to the cities, the rural market is very much more skewed in favor of the smaller cars.
Okay.
And
And
one other point I must make that for the electric cars in India, one of the major concerns of the customers is how to charge the car if they do not have facilities where they can park the car at their homes and have a charging point in the home.
absolutely, and that's one of the key points. Forget not only in rural India, the metros are also facing, because in a city like Bombay, you still don't have car chargers present in every society, right?
No, even if
Probably
you
one or
have
two.
chargers, but you see the number of cars which are parked on the roadside.
No, absolutely. A valid point that you've made as well, that the ecosystem, the infrastructure with regards to charging stations needs to be built in tandem to the number of EVs sold. Because if there is a mismatch on that front, that is going to be a bigger disaster that we will see. But
I'm saying more than that. I'm saying that unless people have places in their homes to charge the car at night, owning electric car for such people who do not have a charging point for the night at home is very, very difficult. You think of yourself, if you didn't have a charging point at home and you had to charge it outside, when would you do the charging and how?
absolutely,
Very
point
inconvenient.
taken. So
Very
Mr. Bhargav,
inconvenient.
another point I have on this one is, now we've spoken about the entry level cars, we've spoken about the SUVs, and clearly in the next 2 to 3 years, you're seeing that the entry level cars, that segment is going to see a revival. Now, from the SUV perspective, do you think it's a long-term growth story again, and that is something which will sustain, or do you think there will be a slight dip on the SUV front but a pickup on the entry-level ones?
No, I don't think the two are related.
Okay.
I think the SUV market and the entry car market are totally different markets. And the pickup in the small car market will have no impact on the SUV market. In fact, over time, the small car market, a small car owner, hopefully with the economy growing faster, as it seems very likely to happen, these car people will move up faster to the SUV type of cars. But more and more people who are scooter owners will move into the small car market. Remember how many scooters we sell every year and what is the scooter market in India. Those people also all aspire to become car owners.
Right. And again, from the kind of ecosystem you're looking to build, the growth, the capex, how is Maruti expected to fund all of this? What's the strategy going to be, from a capacity expansion perspective?
Sorry, I missed that.
My question is, the new lines, the new plants that Maruti is planning, what
Yeah.
is going to be the expansion plan with regards to funding the capex?
We have the money and we will be generating enough internal resources over the coming years to keep funding whatever investments we need to make. That's not a problem. We will not be going into the market for money.
Okay. And overall, with regards to where the acquisition goes as well in terms of, Suzuki, now, how are you looking in terms of completion? Are we on track absolutely in 2024?
We have already completed the acquisition.
But certain formalities or everything is absolutely on track?
No, the payment has been made. The shareholders have given their approval. The board has given its approval. The shares have been issued to Suzuki. Now it's only the logistics of formally taking over the management, which we have for the moment asked Suzuki to continue because the manpower and other things have to be moved in place. But that's all. It's a internal administrative problem. It's not a legal problem anymore.
Right. So everything goes on track on that front. And Mr. Bhargav, another question I have is the three-door Jimny, we are making it in India. When do people expect a launch in India? Because the five-door one everyone likes. Three-door is something where people are wondering, a made in India product, why not launched in India?
Because we don't see a large enough market for it. It's a market it's exported from India. But the market for a three-door Jimny, we don't think will be large enough to justify its launch in India.
Right. And very lastly, from a market share perspective as well, confident that we will be able to maintain these kind of numbers and remain market leaders as well from the small segment and with the kind of growth that we are seeing in SUV. Anything that we would want to start looking at from the EV segment as well? Because clearly right now you have Tata Motors, which is the market leader for electric vehicles. How big a competition, I mean, how close do you think you will be able to get?
We have to watch and see because we are starting with electric cars much later than anybody else. And how we perform there, I think we have to wait a couple of years to see how well our electric cars are accepted.
Right. And Mr. Bhargav, last question. Maruti 800 has always been your favorite in terms of the various models. Maruti itself is close to your heart as well. But apart from these two, from the newer models, newer variants, the ones which Maruti has been launching, which is the next best, which is closest to your heart?
I think what I now find very, very attractive are the hybrid cars. You know, the two models we've launched already, the Grand Vitara and the Invicto. I think these are excellent cars to drive. They're much quieter, much smoother than any of the other cars now.
Right, so I think these are two, I think a lot of people are going to want to own as well pretty soon now, because taking into consideration the kind of success story that we've seen with Maruti 800, the other models will be in the offing as well. Thank you so much, Mr. Bhargava, for joining us on the show at NDTV Profit. A pleasure to speak to you as always. So that's the chairman of Maruti Suzuki, clearly talking to us about the plans they have with regards to expansion. You know, what is it that is going to lead to the growth from here on, the kind of revival that is expected in the small car market, which is absolutely muted right now, and how the EV revolution is expected to take off from here on. That's all that we have on this segment. Thanks for watching, and lots more lined up on the other side. Please stay tuned to NDTV Profit.